Illuminating television.
The WP.
Before going into Kids WB, we have to go into the WB. The channel would launch on January 11th, 1995 under Warner Bros. And Time Warner. What was supposed to be a regular channel turned out to be a response and retaliation for FCC deregulation of media ownership that would repeal financial interest and syndication rules, or FinCEN, in April of '93. UPN would be the first to defy these rules by the FCC, and the WB would be the second, which would make both UPN and the WB a part of the Big Contenders and earn the fourth and fifth title of the Big Three. The first show that would air on the WB was the Wayans Brothers. The mascot would also be Michigan J. Frog, after some forethought on whether to use Daffy or Bugs. The WB would be the first out of any major network to host black sitcoms in network history. As this channel develops, now we get into the meat and potatoes of the WB network. Leave a bookmark here because we have to do a huge video essay on all three contenders. Trust me, you're going to want to stay here for that one.
Matthew Lawrence here to tell you you're watching Kids WB. But you already knew that, didn't you?
Kids WB would launch September 9th of 1995. As a competitor to Fox Kids, Kids WB would receive the short end of the Saturday morning stick, mainly because it would receive Fox Kids hand-me-downs such as Animaniacs and Tiny Toons Adventures, until making original content such as Freakazoid, Pinky and the Brain, and Pinky Elmira in the Brain, the short-lived spinoff. Remember the show called Waynehead? Oh yeah, it was a show that lasted one season because, well, pop quiz time. Is it A, not enough funding, B, Damian Wayne makes terrible cartoons, or C, wasn't black enough? If you guess C, I can't stress how ironic that is considering the first act. While in addition acquiring Sylvester and Tweety's Mysteries, Superman and Batman, the animated series, would also be home on Kids WB, albeit Batman would be favored more and get alternate worlds made such as Batman Beyond. The downside of Kids WB is much like Fox Kids did not have a wide variety of EI shows meant for kids, and at a time this would sound the alarm for the FCC as they demanded cartoon blocks to air a show meant to teach kids as they watched. Only one Saturday morning block actually did that, and it is... Okay, you're gonna get yours soon, alright? One show, Hysteria, was aired in order to keep the FCC at bay, while at the same time, certain shows would poke fun at the fact that a kids' Saturday morning block would even dare to order kids' shows and channel blocks to teach education and moral lessons, which is why Kids WB remains an OG to many of us. Fox Kids was action-packed, while Kids WB gave middle fingers to special interest groups, and during this time, kids only cared about sugary cereal, playing with their friends, and watching cartoons. And let's not forget making our parents regret even conceiving this generation with all the myriad of toy advertisements going on back in the day. What a time to be alive. Later on, Kids WB would set a precedent to revolutionize the Saturday morning block in its time.
Catch an all-new Pokemon this weekend after Batman Beyond on Kids WB.
I really don't like being redundant, but in this case, I'll make an exception to this video because it ties in to a video that I did a year ago. And without both of these, we wouldn't have this. Pokemon Red and Blue would release in 1996 in the United States, and the Pokemon show would first release in Japan in 1997. Why does this matter? In the beginning, Pokemon was widely popular.
In Japan.
While in the US, Pokemon was unknown to many people except those who played the game. In unison, anime as a genre was relatively new to the West and evolving to be adapted to mainstream audiences. While anime was aired on different channels midday or late at night, Minoru Arakawa, former Nintendo CEO, and Alfred Kahn would join forces to make Pokemon a success. You want the entire story? Just watch this video right here. After a few minor investments in taking deals with no compensation through selling Pokemon with no advertising deals, Pokemon would explode. In 1998, two networks would aim to buy it, Fox and Warner Bros. Haim Saban would give an unknown amount while WB would double that.
Guess who got screwed?
Warner Bros. Would end up receiving the bid and would release the series in September of 1998, which would revolutionize the Saturday morning blocks entirely, as Kids WB would be the only block to host anime titles, which would lock in the the Pokemania craze for the next 5 years. While in 1997, Toonami was where anime would reside instead of being on random networks at random times. Fast forward to July 2001, Kids WB and Toonami would join together to create Toonami on Kids WB. Shows like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Card Captors would also take to Kids WB on weekdays. It would be canceled in 2002 and stay separate. Later on, Yu-Gi-Oh! Would come on when Pokemon was becoming less popular, but still held an audience for 3 generations until Battle Frontier, which would move to Cartoon Network. Other anime to air after Yu-Gi-Oh! Were Astro Boy, Mega Man NT Warrior, and Beautiful Joe, leaving Kids WB to have a wide variety and depth. Kids WB would have a lineup that was very vast in variety from its counterparts on ABC and Fox respectively, but after Pokemon would give Kids WB the fuel it needed to continue to make original content instead of buying IPs. In the early to mid 2000s, Batman, Ozzy and Drix, after the mixed success of the movie, and What's New Scooby-Doo would take to the block as original programming. However, 3 shows are key noted as the biggest original shows that kept kids watching the block.
Kids just the name Ricky and Trueback.
Nobody know what I do. Okay, superhero
Static Shock was one of the main shows on the Kids WB block that helped Kids WB after the Pokemon craze was dying down. About a 14-year-old black teen named Virgil Hawkins, voiced by Phil Lamar, who gets caught in an explosion of mutagen gas after being in a gang fight, which would later be called the Big Bang. These powers would give him electromagnetic powers and would go under the name Static. The main objective would be to find who was responsible for making the villains called Bang Babies. Later on in the series, his friend Richie would be considered a Bang Baby called Gear and fight alongside Static. The series was lauded for having real social discussions such as racism, homelessness, school shootings, and joining gangs, which would give the show a Daytime Emmy as well as being praised for having the first black superhero in a standalone animation series. The problem was, did not sell toys. Animator Dwayne McDuffie cited that it was one of the main reasons why the show got canceled. Later on, Static would be taken off Max for licensing. Mucha Lucha is the next show to captivate kids without having to be violent. A show about honor, family, tradition. The students of the International School of Lucha, located in Luchaville, South California, study to become luchadors. Ricochet, Buena Girl, and The Flea are the center of the show, aiming to become top of their class, while also going through certain things in their own way. The animation was done on Macromedia Flash, a medium not used as much, but did age with time as Blu-ray and HD became more relevant. In order to fight the censors on violence, the characters would transform into objects just so kids would not imitate the show's violence. The show would receive 3 seasons, the last being Mucha Lucha Gigante, Game Boy games, a short DC comic line, action figures by Jack Specific, and a movie. Now, this does remind me of a show that I used to watch. That one, but another one comes to mind.
Suffer for your crimes! Xiaolin Showdown.
Xiaolin Showdown was created by Christy Huey, who wanted to make a show that had both Eastern and Western influence and fusion. She also wanted to create a show that wasn't in the already saturated anime genre, but had an anime feel. The first episode was created 3 years before its release on Kids WB on November 1st, 2003. Xiaolin Showdown's premise was a band of 4 kids from different parts of the world searching for ancient artifacts called Shengan Wu. If 2 parties touched the artifact, it would initiate a game called Xiaolin Showdown, which would be a race to the finish or fight till you drop, using Shengan Wu already wielded in turn to win the prize. The showdowns could either be one-on-one, Shen Yi Bu Dare, Shen Yi Bu All In, Showdown Trio, or Xiaolin Showdown Tsunami. Reception for the show exploded as it would take the #1 spot on the Saturday morning block, receiving a trading card game, video game, and a spin-off later in the years called Xiaolin Chronicles. Also, do we care about this? Because I know I didn't. I didn't care for the show at all. In fact, no one did. So I'll make this one brief. Once upon a time, there was the Lunatics Unleashed because Warner Brothers Animation thought kids wanted an edgier Looney Tunes, which couldn't be farther from the truth because, let's face it, Gen Zs, millennials, they don't care about Looney Tunes that much. Turns out everybody hated it, and it only lasted 1 season. The end, moving right along.
Kids WB!
tuned for more afternoon show.
Kids WB!
Many shows from Cartoon Network would make its way to Kids WB and vice versa. Teen Titans would air for 2 seasons before moving on to Cartoon Network and being aired for 5. Baby Looney Tunes would also be aired on weekdays and weekends before Kids WB. There was also an after-school block, just like Disney's 1-2, called the Aftertoon Show, to air on weekdays on April 18th of 2005. This would only go on for a year, as most parents would argue it took time away from kids doing their homework, as well as local affiliates seeing it as financially unattractive, as kids would use cable networks to watch cartoons. As a result, talk shows and sitcoms would take back weekday blocks, while Cartoon Network's Magoozy was introduced. By 2006, UPN and the WB would merge into the CW. This would change Kids WB for the worse. As Disney's 1-2 was canceled, it would move to create the KOL Slumber Party, aimed at girls, then Kids WB, which catered mainly to boys. As this rift continued, Kids WB would have its final airing on October 7, 2007. Due to competition to an already powerful Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, as well as Saturday morning blocks not being able to keep up with kids anymore, Kids WB would be sold to 4Kids Entertainment and relaunched as the CW 4Kids. As 4Kids TV was the last beacon of Saturday morning cartoons, it still couldn't keep up viewership even with a 4Kids lineup. Later would rebrand to Toonzai in 2010, rebranded again to Vortex in 2012 till the cancellation in 2014. Its sole rest as One Magnificent Morning launched on October 4th, 2014, and still airs wildlife and educational shows. Kids WB was good while it lasted, mainly because the future wouldn't have Saturday morning cartoons in it. The WB was meant to get independence from the main networks. Kids WB was meant to compete with Fox Kids, and in its time, WB did that and more, beating every show in ratings with not only original content made by Warner Bros., but incorporating anime to a mainstream audience, taking a chance on its ratings. Diversity in content kept Kids WB in high demand, while capitalizing on Pokemania didn't hurt it either. Later on would have trouble with Cartoon Network promotion, which would then dominate 3-day weekends versus Kids WB, which only had Saturday. At the same time, other shows were being transferred over to Cartoon Network, making Kids WB null and void. Our generation wishes that the kids of this generation could have the experiences that we had, but let's face it, extracurricular activities, sleeping in, playing video games, and streaming services would axe out Kids WB altogether, along with YouTube of course. Kids WB is a staple in our childhoods, but its time should be left where it was.
Epilogue.